And we're live. Happy October 1st, everybody. Welcome to A Nice Place to Brew. I'm Jason.
And I'm George.
And I'm Louise.
Welcome to the show, Luis. Luis is we'll do a quick intro here. Luis is a proud member of the Joliet Brewers Guild. Is the only female member of the JBG who brews. Is that correct?
We have other female members that brew with their partners, but I would say I'm the only female member that brews for myself.
Okay, right on.
By myself and for myself.
And what's probably going to be a central point during today's webcast is that Luis is a microbiologist by trade and by profession, and has a lot that she can share with us here on the show today about yeast health, best practices, and of course, as we say, all things beer and beer making.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we get into... go ahead, George.
I was going to say, one thing you've been neglecting is I've been doing my best on these descriptions for this one. And so for this one, I have all things yeast and yeast making. Because I figured with Louise here, it probably was appropriate. So, Louise, I think we actually... had a conversation. Were you on the I think you were on the last JVG Zoom hangout.
I was, yes.
Yeah, because I think we were chatting through changing our name on the Zoom meeting.
On the
about
Zoom,
different
yes.
Things. So,
So anyways, just to go full circle on the intro here. Today is October 1st. We do our webcast every Thursday here on the YouTube channel. We're also available on Facebook. Our YouTube channel has all of our past episodes. We've done weekly episodes since the beginning of the quarantine, and we have not missed a show just yet. So if you can't wait until next Thursday to catch more of George, Polly, and of course Luis tonight, check out our backlog. We also have a podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew, that's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all the podcasting platforms. We have a website at www.aniceplacetobrew.com, and we have social media links under the names A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. All right, intro is done. Luis, we always start off each show with a question, and that is, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking Metal Monkey's Burninator, which is a rather delicious malty double bock.
Nice.
And,
okay.
I grew up in the north of England, and the beers that I grew up on were very much malt forward and not hop forward beers. Think John Smith's, think Boddington's. Those are the beer styles I grew up with, and I tend to still gravitate towards those very malt forward beers. Though I do occasionally enjoy some IPAs, but only if they don't contain Cascade. That is where we will draw the line.
I do remember having an argument with you via Zoom names about Cascade, because that is my favorite hop.
It's terrible. You should just, squeeze your cat into your beer. It'd be the same difference.
No,
that's Citra for me, and Simcoe. Those ones give me those kind of, but catty kind of thing. Yeah. So, but squeeze your cat into your beer. I've not heard that before. I am drinking a homebrew of. I'm getting a little low on my keg, but it's still my summer shandy, lemon lime shandy that I'm drinking tonight.
And Mr. Paulie Bidney is here as well.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Excellent, sir. I have lots of questions for you as well about your first week as a pro brewer, but first and foremost, what are you drinking tonight?
Mosaic Promise Compounders.
Right on.
You'd think I would have brought something from the brewery, but nah.
That's okay.
Yeah. What about you, sir?
Marzen. From the garage, made by me and Polly, and I figured what's a more appropriate drink for October 1st than a classic Oktoberfest style.
Okay.
I actually had one of those at my house.
It's I'm really proud of it. So, anyways, I need to send out links, but let's kind of dive into the discussion here. Luis, if we can go back, you were a microbiologist before you were a brewer. Is that a correct statement?
No.
Okay. No. All right. Can we color this in?
So my first brewing was while I was actually underage. It was in the UK, and I would help my father make country wines. He was a greengrocer at the time. He'd come back sometimes with like a giant stack of strawberries, and our job would be to take all the bad bits out, put them in a bucket, and turn them into wine. So we made wines. I was making country wines when I was 16, 18, before I went to college to become a microbiologist. So I was brewing wines with my dad at 16. When I moved to the US, I was brewing meats, and then beer came later. So I was
wow.
I've been brewing a while.
So was it your interest in those drink making ventures that kind of led you to the microbiology field?
No, I'd always been a biologist and always into biology and nature and science. So that was pretty much where I was going to go anyway. And so I think they're just coincidental. But I would say that my interest in beer started long before I started brewing beer. Because back in the UK, when I was in college, I was a member of CAMRA, which is the Campaign for Real Ale.
Campaign for Real Ale.
Campaign for Real Ale.
No, at
the time, Real Ale, proper cask conditioned British ale, was under threat, and more and more breweries were consolidating. And so this was a group that basically campaigned to keep small breweries open and running.
Oh, okay.
So I was a beer drinker.
Behind that.
I was a beer drinker in my 20s. So long before I started brewing beer. And then I moved to the US, and I still maintain that I started brewing beer as a defense. Because when I moved here, I was in the Midwest, and the beer choices seemed to be Honey Brown, Budweiser, Bud Light, Miller Lite, Killian's Irish Red. And
basically, it was self-preservation.
It was self-preservation. I wanted to drink something that wasn't Bud Light.
Yeah, I get that.
I think that's a familiar tale for a lot of homebrewers.
Right.
Is they either had a flavor in mind that they just couldn't find commercially, or they just weren't satisfied with what was available to them.
Right. And I moved to the US in 95, and the craft beer revolution really was just starting. I think the first independent brewery opened in Toledo, which is where I lived at the time, in I think probably the 2000s. Now there's 5, but there was 1. I had lived there.
Okay.
So I do admit that being a microbiologist does change sometimes how I brew and how I approach it. I actually think I'm less careful about sanitation than a lot of brewers, because I understand competition. Like if I get if I get a few bacteria or wild yeast in there, but I'm adding 40 billion actively growing yeast cells, they're out of luck.
Yeah.
I mean, those few contaminants are like.
That's a fair take.
So everybody's like, "Oh, sanitation." I'm like, meh, good enough. and I've never had a contaminated beer because I'm adding enough yeast cells that there's nobody. It's not going to make a difference in my overall product.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I read through the yeast book. The water malt hops yeast book. Oh man, I felt like I needed to go back to school and to understand that one a little bit, but it gave me a lot of good information on that, and that's kind of one of the things I pulled out of it too, is that between the number of yeast cells that are added and the amount of alcohol that's created,
right?
Not that sanitation isn't important, it still is, but it's not one of those things that if there's a couple bacteria in there, it's going to ruin the whole batch kind of thing.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look back at historic practices, they didn't have, star san, iodophore. They didn't even know what yeast was half the time, and yet miraculously managed to produce beers quite happily.
I often wonder what did those. But I often wonder too, to the on the flip side of that, what did those beers taste like? Yeah, they were beer, but I if using those old traditional methods where they didn't have good sanitation, where they did them in those casks and didn't burn the inside and things to kind of get it sanitized, like. I'm curious what those tasted like.
So there's some interesting things, because I do actually do historical brewing as well. And there's some interesting historical documents that talk about if your beer barrel goes bad, you should put it in you scrub it well, and then you put it in the sun. And it turns out the bacteria do not have the bacteria are far more sensitive to ultraviolet light than yeast are. Yeast actually have a mechanism to repair the DNA if damaged by UV light, but bacteria do not. So simple putting things in the sunlight is sufficient to kill bacteria, which are, of course, the most common spoilage organisms for beer, but not actually damage your yeast cells. So they had mechanisms to clean without necessarily having those understanding of why it worked. But if you look at some of the historical practices, the magic broom that you always stirred your beer with, and then you hung it up to dry, and then you used it again to stir your beer with. And of course, what you're doing is saving yeast and re-inoculating your beer.
Jason, are you getting feedback from me?
I'm trying to find out where that's coming from, and it might be you. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, George, it is coming from your end. Is that something is your input or something?
What are you getting?
It's just a low hum.
Huh. Okay. Let me try one thing.
Okay, now it's gone. Well, there, yeah, you went on mute.
Yeah,
exactly. we'll get it figured out.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think.
No, it's back. I think. Right. You know what? What I think is helping it, George, is if you face closer to the microphone. As you go further away, it seems to get louder.
Right, but I'm trying I've got actually a lapel mic I'm trying out. So there is no such thing as me being farther away from the microphone because it goes with me.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I'll let me. So if you're still getting that, then let me switch back to a more traditional method here. So
okay.
I'll be right back.
Sure. So, Luis, your comments are resonating with me about the resilience of yeast and maybe and just that they've overcome so many throughout the years, and even that sanitation, and I know this is a dangerous statement, maybe a slightly overstated to some degree in brewing. So I guess if that all reigns true, and I think there's an argument for it, what are some go-tos? I guess what are there other myths that maybe can be busted, for lack of a better term, in terms of yeast health and fermentation?
I think that the guys that do the experimentation have taken on some of those in their side-by-side experiments.
True.
Where they do the pitch rates, and really except for very big beers, it appears that pitch rates do not make that much difference.
Okay, let me digest that. Pitch rates don't make that much of a difference?
Right. To a certain extent. If you have an old, past sachet of yeast versus a brand new sachet of yeast, there's at least 10 times more cells, if not more, in that one, your usual, let's say you buy a Y yeast pack. There's at least 10 times more yeast cells in that packet than you need.
So that's traditionally 10 billion cells 100 billion cells is what the count is.
You're probably not going to see any difference until you've lost a couple of log of cells, like you are down to 1/10 to 1/100th of the amount of cells that you originally had in that batch.
So is it fair to say that you run less of a risk of issues if you overpitch versus underpitch?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, and I think too that there's some beer styles and some yeast styles seem to be more sensitive to that. So some of it is understanding what beer style you're running versus what yeast style you have. There was a experiment I saw which was they underpitched one of the Quebec yeasts, I think, and it was a relatively recent experiment that the experiment guys did, and it had they'd been hypothesized that if you underpitch, you get more fruit flavors. And nobody could tell the difference between the beers, whether underpitched or standard pitched.
Well, it's like the Belgian and German yeast styles. Sometimes if you underpitch those and stress them out a little bit, you get more of the esters.
Right.
True.
Like the banana esters and things like that. So yeah, for sure.
Well, and the esters, those secondary products of fermentation are always very interesting because they appear to be temperature related, strain related, and very variable, with some strains. Like I remember doing a Hefeweizen once that I did not have an air conditioned apartment, and this is before I was temperature controlling my brews, and it wasn't banana, it was banana. It was so banana-y because the yeast had just gone, I shall make all the banana esters.
It's funny you should say that because the next one I'm planning is I'm calling it, there's always money in the banana stand. It's a chocolate banana. I'm going to do a stout with Belgian yeast and try to get a chocolate banana feel to it. So
interesting.
If I want to pull out more of those banana esters, I was going to underpitch a little bit, but do you have any other suggestions of what I might do?
So to some extent, it depends on the yeast because some yeast strains give you more clove at higher temperatures. Some give you more banana at higher temperatures. So you kind of have to know what yeast you're dealing with as to which esters it's going to give you at which temperature. But I do know. So I managed to collect a wild yeast, and it ferments really nicely. It makes a good Hefeweizen. But above 65, it is all clove.
All clove, yeah.
All clove above 65. So you have to ferment it low, and you get the banana esters with a little clove. But if you ferment it high, it's just like chewing on some sticks of clove in your mouth, and it's deeply unpleasant.
So, I mean, it's an interesting thing that you just brought up because it's one of my major questions about it. Because one of the things as you move forward, if you want to get more technical with it, is like reclaiming yeast. And I've seen a myriad of different procedures on how to do that. Do you have one that you like?
I tend to treat it like a microbiologist, so I have
I was wondering.
And I produce single colonies on streak plates. So I'm only ever starting with a single pure colony and a single yeast strain, and then I'll grow it up in maybe 100 milliliter batch, and then pitch it into a 1 liter.
Okay, so you don't do a lot of reclaiming, though.
I don't really know. From batch to batch, I've never reclaimed a yeast. I tend to pitch from frozen stocks that I've prepared. So I have pure strains in my freezer. I have a yeast bank, if you would. And, it's a little bit of a pain sometimes because I have to plan a week and a half advance of a brew in order to have yeast.
So, can you walk us through what you do when they come out of the freezer?
So they come out of the freezer. I'm going to have an agar plate prepared, which is a small disc-like plate with a solid substrate on it. I'm going to prepare a streak, and if I get a chance, I'll pull up a picture of what an agar streak would look like. And you do this with sterilizing a loop, and you basically get single colonies of yeast. And that takes about 4 days to grow, 4 to 5 days if it's kept warm enough. Then you take a single colony, put it into malt extract, 100 mils. I usually do them in canning jars because you can just put 100 mils of malt in, put it in your pressure cooker, your instant pot, and sterilize them on high pressure for 30 minutes. There you go. That's a streak plate. Perfect. That's what it looks like. And one of these single dots would be a single colony. And it would be the product of a single yeast cell. So you know you're getting a pure colony. And then usually 24 to 48 hours from a yeast cell to 100 mils. And then another 24 hours from 100 mils to a 1 liter. And then I can make beer the following day. So it's a good, long, involved process. But I'm cheap, and it saves me like $8 a time.
Wow! Wow!
Yeah. No. So you start with like a Y yeast pack or something like that,
and I'll put like a mill in the freezer.
You put like just a tiny amount in the freezer, and then use that forever.
Yep.
See, that's what I need to learn because why not, right? Screw them.
So Luis, what do you use to collect the yeast after they're completed?
What do you mean?
After you're done fermenting and the trub drops out.
Oh, I don't. You don't? I don't usually.
Really?
No, because Jason, when you create those agar plates, you can create there's 100 billion cells. You only really need like say like 1,000, or we really only need one, but you really only use more. One.
But if you start with 1,000 cells, the beauty of logarithmic growth means that you'll have 100 billion later.
So she can reuse a single packet of Y yeast thousands of times.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of what she's talking about.
Oh, wow. All right.
Because agar is basically, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's basically a sugar solution to provide food to the yeast for growth, right?
The agar I use is basically just malt extract with a solidifying agent.
Okay, so basically she's
if we want to go for a walk, we can walk to my freezer and I'll show you my stocks and my plates. The plates.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, and Luis, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm going to try to describe it a little bit. Basically, she creates a tiny little starter in a little plate to start the growth, and then she collects that and puts it into a more traditional starter and grows it into a full batch size.
Yep.
Oh my
Just takes time.
Yeah.
And I think my yeast plates, which are old, are contaminated with bacteria, with mold right now, which is one of the biggest problems you get. Because the same agar that grows yeast will grow mold.
Right.
So they probably need throwing away. They're over a couple of months old. So
do you cheat and use your work autoclave to sanitize things?
No, I just use an Instant Pot.
Use an Instant Pot. Okay, that's what I've been considering doing too. You can use a pressure cooker as an autoclave to sanitize, to really deep sanitize your plates and everything.
So, like I said, I think these are all definitely dead. So let's see. Where's my camera? That is penicillin. That is not yeast. There's a yeast there. I don't know if you can see that one dot. Where's the camera?
I can kind of see.
Like
yeah.
I'm going to throw these away at this point because they are all blue. But the yeast grows faster than the mold. So even if you do have mold, it's not an issue when you're making your stocks.
And they usually show up pretty visibly, right?
The yeast, and they're pretty distinguishable. And then most of my yeast stocks. Getting a tour of the house while we're at it. are actually out here. So I have stocks in the fridge that I keep in either on a slant, which is on an agar slant. So this is agar that's solid in a tube. So you see that doesn't pour. It's a solid.
Right.
Or I keep them in water because yeast is actually fairly resilient. So you can keep it in water in a fridge and it will remain viable for about 6 months. That's that way.
Can you freeze them? Or
You
do
can.
you just... Okay.
If you're going to freeze them, though, you want to add a cryoprotectant.
I was wondering.
Glycerol. Yeah. You can buy glycerin.
Okay.
From Amazon, and you just sterilize it at a 50% volume. And then these are all of my freezer stocks. Look, yeast.
Right, because the concern about freezing them is you get cell destruction if they get if they freeze. So actually during the thawing process, right?
Right. So the thing with glycerol is it doesn't actually freeze in a standard household freezer, so it remains kind of liquid. So you don't get that formation of ice crystal, which is going to disrupt your cell structures.
Is it because is its freezing point just below the point of water?
Freezing point is below that of water, so it is a cryoprotectant.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeast on the floor.
Yeah, yeast over. It's back in the freezer now. We're all good.
Our viewer count kept increasing as you were walking around and showing us.
Touring the house.
We're doing good here.
There is
actually.
Oh, and we got kegs. All right, even better.
So you can get 8. So if people want to try this, it's actually not that expensive. You can get 8 ounces of glycerol for $15 off of Amazon. So how much glycerol do you need for one of those test tubes
like
that you would
half a mil?
Half a mil. Yeah, so not a lot.
Half an ml.
There's 237 mils. Yeah, it's a long time supply.
It's a lifetime supply.
Yeah. Okay. Now you get me excited. This is something I'm going to have to try.
Well, and I've offered to the Brewers Guild before. We do have another microbiologist in the guild, and we've offered before to do like basic yeast wrangling, because I know that he has a yeast collection too.
Well, I'll tell you what. Hey. If we want to do, I think what would be great, Jason, is if we wanted to set up, and maybe you could help with this with some camera work and stuff. A live stream where we just do yeast wrangling, like she's talking about. I think that'd be a great thing for people.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And it's a sort of thing that can be done. It just requires a little bit of setup in advance.
Sure. Well, let's put that together. Luis, are you okay with that? Okay.
I teach for fun and profit.
Okay.
Oh yeah, good, because we're not going to pay you. Yeah.
No, I get paid already to teach.
Actually, you just moved, Louise. Where you live now?
Homer Glen now.
Okay. Because you sold your house, right?
I have not sold my house. Yay, 3 mortgages.
Oh no. That's not what you want to hear.
It's okay.
I'll keep your pizza oven warm for you. How about that?
You keep no. The pizza oven moved like back in March.
I was gonna say I would be so sad if somehow that stayed behind.
No, that did not. That moved before. That moved just shortly after I moved. Actually,
it's on wheels, isn't it?
It is on wheels.
Okay, all right. So that wouldn't be too difficult to move.
We got it into a truck and moved it.
Okay.
So for those who aren't listening, I do have a wood-fired pizza oven.
It's amazing.
It makes really good pizza.
Yeah.
And once this pandemic is over again, I will be hosting beer and pizza parties.
Okay. That's awesome. Yes, I've been there. It's a great. Oh, what happened here?
She'll be back.
Boy.
She's on her phone, and you know how touchy those are sometimes. She must have dropped out.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I got once we hit a good breaking point. We can talk about that a bit.
Okay. All right.
But let me be right back and Yeah, I'll be right back. I don't know where that sentence was going.
Oh, okay. All right. Welcome back.
Sorry.
All right. Luis comes back. George steps out. So what's the
what?
what's the latest brew day? What's all right, well, let's just say what's the last brew day and what's the next one?
So the one in the fridge right now that is just finished carbonating is the sour beer for the JBG competition.
Okay.
Which is going to be judged in about a week and a half. And then the beer that has just been started is the Big and Dark for the Christmas competition.
Ooh.
And
I
went different, but I can't say anything because competition.
Yes.
You're all going to have to wait. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I hope it's as good. None of my Big and Darks have been as good in reality as they are in my head. And I'm really hoping that this one is actually as good in reality as it as I feel that it should be.
I totally relate to that. And the three of us here know that just how creative the membership gets when Big and Dark comes around. Because there's not really firm parameters around it. You have a lot of creative freedom and people go off in some very unique directions.
Yeah, the first year I wanted to make a Mexican chocolate stout, and I had way too much chili.
Okay.
Way too much.
There is such a thing as way too much chili.
Yeah.
The second year, I wanted something that was just kind of a chocolatey, delicious stout with orange, like the Terry's chocolate orange.
Oh, I love those.
I know. And it was going to be so good. And I got the orange, but the chocolate just didn't hit. I just didn't get enough of the chocolate on the nose or on the palate.
If you want a good benchmark for that, have you ever tried Southern Tier's chocolate orange?
I don't believe so.
That hits those notes. It actually reminded me of those Terry's oranges because those are the ones that you actually come apart into like orange slices.
Yeah, you have to unwrap them and whap them. Yeah. That is what I was going for.
And that's exactly what I tasted in that Southern Tier beer. So if you get a chance, that's a good benchmark for you.
Yeah. But, there's always that exploration of like, this is what you're going for. There's got to be, sometimes you just want to cut yourself out from the herd of oh, look, it's another Imperial Stout that tastes like every other Imperial Stout.
Yeah.
Hence the banana stout,
Right.
Yes. That is a unique idea for sure. Yeah. Using the Belgian yeast and in creating banana esters. I like it.
May or may not work. So.
Yeah.
Right. Swing it. I think the thing to remember is that no matter what you do, you're always learning something. Even if your beer is so dreadful that the only thing you can do is pour it down the drain on the street, which is what happened with my first Big and Dark beer, that you've at least learned something from the experience.
Yeah.
Even if it is, don't do that again.
Even if it is, there's a reason no one's made this in the past.
And I got my chilies from Mexico, so I think they were possibly a little fresher and a little more intense in their flavor profiles than I was ideally hoping for.
Did I hear a dog?
Yes, you do. I'm being whined at because apparently somebody wants to go out.
Yeah, I got two in here, two corgis in here, so I know how that goes.
I've got Weimaraners. Hold on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, let's see.
There she is. That is the dog that's whining at me.
Big dog.
This is the dog that's sitting on my feet.
Oh, yeah. And I got, let's see. There. Oh, no, you can see.
Oh, yep, corgi.
There's a corgi. Yeah. Little Wesley. All right.
Just chilling out. Wants to be part of the webcast. Welcome, Wesley.
I left for a second. I came back and I had two invaders. So Fred's in here somewhere too. Yeah.
So, Paulie.
Yo.
How's the first week been?
Fun. Yeah, I'm wanting to say I'm in over my head, but I'm saying I can handle this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Today was the first day I was by myself.
Okay. All right.
I did a CIP on a cleaner, which stands for clean in place. So that was actually kind of fun. And then I got some brew water ready for everybody. Bonus, I didn't blow up the fermenter because I let everything vent. That was a good thing. But it was good. I brewed on Tuesday already. I kegged yesterday. And I cleaned today. And we're doing a double brew day this weekend. I can't make it on Saturday because I have to be at Brewing Ground, unfortunately. I'll be there on Sunday. So anybody out there, we're going to be brewing on Sunday if you want to swing by and say hi and check out the new place.
What you making?
Is their cream ale, one of their staples.
Okay.
So, after the meeting last week, I've been talking to Steve past couple of days, and it was kind of funny. The old brewer Dustin handed me all the recipes the other day. I don't know if you saw that picture I sent out. I think it was last night I sent it to you. And it's just kind of maybe granted, I come in here and all of a sudden, like, here's the recipes, and I was going through them all, trying to figure out what styles they were, what they did, what the latest one was. So it's definitely been interesting. I'm on my own now. Dustin went to Hailstorm. He started at Hailstorm today. So today tomorrow I'm gonna go in and do some inventory. I'm gonna figure out about what we have. They actually developed a recipe today. Jason, did you get that recipe that I showed you?
I have not had a chance to look at it.
Oh, okay.
Come on, man.
We can dive into that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was told they wanted a West Coast.
Here we go. All right.
Oh, that's a shame.
I know.
That's
Jason, that wee heavy I kegged yesterday is amazing. 8.1%.
I'm telling you, man.
Nice.
You need to convince him to do Polly's truck on Route 66. I think that just works too well.
Well, we joked about that last episode. Yeah, that came up. We were all like, "Yes, I totally support that idea."
Yeah.
Actually, all of a sudden, when I had a buddy of mine make the frame for my medal that I got last year, he got bored one day and carved me out a little truck. So I actually that was been the first decoration in the brew house, sitting on the control box for the brew house, where all my switches are and all the magic happens.
I've been curious about those control boxes. Is that simplifying things for you, or I feel like at first blush they look like they make things more complicated. To be honest,
you know what? I'm starting. It's all about figuring it out. And like I've never brewed on an electric system by myself. I brewed it with people. So now I'm learning all the ins and the outs of electric brew system. Hopefully I don't burn out an element, crack an element, something like that. I guess the only thing is to make sure don't ever turn those things on if they're dry.
Don't run them dry.
In minutes.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny when I was heating up the HLT today, because one thing we try and do is like on a brew day, we want to have all our water in a hot water tank. So it's ready to go, because those elements take so long. It takes like a degree a minute. So if you got to go up 100 degrees, you got to find something to do for 100 freaking minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Paulie, am I okay to share this recipe that that you sent over to me?
Yeah, it's not official yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
I ain't for sure what I'm brewing. It was kind of funny because at first they said a brown ale. I was like, yes, my award-winning brown. But then I got talking to Steve today, and with what we have in the tanks and on right now, there's no need to brew that right now, because we don't need we don't want like 4 or 5 dark beers on. So pretty much I'm doing the West Coast. No.
Yeah.
Over and over. And I'm just gonna do some 2-row Munich, and then some. As per Chase's suggestion, some Carapils.
There's a shock.
I'm doing a hell of a lot more than 4 ounces of Carapils in there.
So, what size is this, Polly?
3.5 barrel.
Okay.
It's a 3.5 barrel.
So that's close to just over 100 gallons.
Just under. Just under.
Is
okay.
It just, yeah. Okay.
Because our pre-boil volume is like 96. So 3 barrels, that's technically 93 gallons. So yeah.
Right.
Our pre-boil, our kettle is only 100 gallons.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Centennial and Tomahawk. Okay.
Columbus Tomahawk, same thing.
Right.
I like that hop.
Yeah, well, I was going for all the C's on there because trying to do a traditional. I'm gonna go about the traditional West Coast. It's gonna be the danky stuff that I'm not into anymore. But hey, challenge accepted. It was funny because I was hearing the owners talk about how some brewers are, I'll never brew this because I don't like it. I'm thinking, screw that. If this gonna bring butts in the seats, let's do it. Let's have some fun.
Right.
If people keep asking about it, we might as well try it. Hopefully, yeah. So I got my 60-minute, and then my I was thinking about. I still need to do like a flame out because I only got 60 and 30. I was probably gonna do. Luis is gonna scoff at me, but I'm probably gonna do Cascade.
Yeah, man.
I was going to say, if you're aiming for the C's, then Cascade is going to fit right in there.
Or Chinook.
Yeah, don't do it.
Or Chinook, sure.
Yeah.
Chinook might be slightly.
Okay, you can do Citra for aroma. Yeah.
No.
Citra is delicious.
No. Citra's the cat pee one. I don't know.
Citra's yummy and Cascade is nasty.
I'll give a little endorsement to Challenger too. I found that to be a solid bittering hop.
Oh, it's very high IBU.
It is. It gets the job done.
Yeah.
So just control your quantity appropriately.
Yeah. All right.
3.5. I don't know if I said last week what it was. A 3.5 barrel brew system. I had 3.5 barrel fermenters and then 1.5. So to fill the 5, we got to do 2 turns, so double brew days back to back.
Okay, all right. Is that okay? Is that a regular thing there at the brewery? Double brew days?
Well, believe it or not, that's a very common thing at a lot of breweries because
I kind of figured it would be. Yeah.
I mean, because if you think, I think every one of the JBG breweries, they've all had their time except. Until like Metal Monkey gets that nice 10 barrel system. They're all doing everything to 2 turn because you can technically, as long as you get that beer in there within 24 hours, it'll be good. So
right.
So when you're,
but a lot of times the fermenters are twice as big as the boil kettle. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, right?
Hence the double brew day.
Hence the double brew day. Get the most you can out of the fermenter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. Oh gosh, this is a dangerous question, and I feel like I should know the answer to it. A double brew day is going to be 9 to 10 hours.
No,
I mean like nonstop. Not that long.
It's going to be back-to-back brew days.
So you do yours one day, and then the next day.
Next morning, yeah, get in there a little bit earlier. Next morning,
There
are some breweries, like I think Emmett's used to do this. I don't know if they still do, where they'll start early and they will do 2 brew days in the same day.
Mm-hmm. And for sure they did.
Yeah, and load it up in the fermenter.
Yeah,
two back-to-back brews in the fermenter. So so you're getting.
Speaking of that. He used to talk about that because his brew day would start at like 4 a.m. or some absurd amount of time.
To be honest, I think that was his choice. He was an old military
I'm sure
guy,
it was.
And he was used to being up at dark 30.
Yeah. That's just wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to be doing anything but sleeping at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, it's ridiculous.
If that makes me a bum, that makes me a bum. Fine.
Oh, I remember a couple of years ago, 4:30 in the morning was like the normal thing. Now I'm used to this. These, I get to make my own hours, so I can like roll out of bed at like 8, walk around the house. As long as I get there and get my work done for the day, I can do whatever. I try and get all my work done earlier in the day, so because we don't open till 4. So it's nice. It's nice. If I can, when they open, if I'm just wrapping a few things up, cleaning something up or something like that. Because if I'm in the middle of hop editions or doing something like this, I love all the customers. I want to talk to them, but leave me alone for an hour. I'll come out and talk to you in a minute.
Yeah.
So I would like to add that one of the things I really love about the craft brew scene is actually meeting the brewers and talking to them about their love, their passion, their good beer, their style. I think that's one of the differences it makes to me going into a tap room versus going into and just buying your beer at a carryout or something. Actually going into the stores and meeting the brewers and the people behind the counter that really know their stuff.
Totally agree.
So she's saying be friendly, Polly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's why I try and get all my stuff done before they open. And if I want, I can stick around. If not, I'm out. Deuces, guys.
And that, of course, is one of the great things about, being part of, the craft beer community is how inviting everybody is. Mm-hmm. And that's very common that brewers of small breweries are going to be accessible, are going to say hi to people, have conversations, even offer suggestions for people that brew as well. George, you and I have had countless conversations with people on those notes.
Well, one of the early beers we made was that Emmett's Red clone. And we were both super nervous about going in and asking for his recipe. And we kind of nervously went up and said, hey, we really like your red ale. Can you give us some clues on your recipe? He disappeared and came back with percentages.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, we need to figure out how the hell do we interpret percentages into pounds and things.
Right.
But, once we figured that
use
out.
Use kilos. You don't have to figure stuff out.
See, I was wondering if you use metric. Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, we did that and it turned out well. And then the nice part is he was very happy to try the result, see how it stacked up and offer suggestions. And that's been kind of standard for the brewers that I've encountered, which has been very nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where did Luis go?
I don't know. My camera just stopped working, even though it's part of my laptop. It just disappeared. It just said, "Hey, you unplugged your camera." I'm like, it's an integral part to my laptop. I don't know how.
If you try refreshing the screen, a lot of times it'll come back with this.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I might disappear because I have to refresh.
Okay.
Don't worry. Carry on without me. I'll just keep listening.
All right. So.
But yeah, it was kind of cool because all week, because I'm in there's 3 other businesses in the building, or 4 other businesses in the building all week. Everybody's walking down because there's like a little back, there's a little back door where you can get to all the businesses in and out of them. And so all of a sudden, this morning I'm in the middle of cleaning the fermenter. Like 3 women come up and say, "Hey, I heard you're Paul. Nice to meet you." Blah 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 blah. And they're like, "Are you making a mess?" I'm like, trying not to, as I'm all over the goddamn place.
Yeah.
So this has been I'm really excited about this job. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We're excited for you.
Yeah.
Was Steve excited about his time here on the webcast last week?
Yeah, he said he had fun. He was actually
good.
He didn't know anything about it. It's kind of funny. I was talking to him this morning. He's like, "How late you staying today?" I'm like, "I'm leaving about 4:30 so I can go do my podcast." He's like, "Oh yeah." And he was asking questions about it. how many people watch them. Like, I couldn't tell you because I don't see the stats from the back end.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
if
you guys, hey, what were the stats last night?
Jason and I keep harassing each other, and so we need to make good on our threat to actually do the audio podcast as well. And we'd love to have Steve on and talk about, starting the brewery and doing all that stuff. So yeah.
Okay, for sure.
Refresh does not kick on for Luis. That's what she's commenting here.
It is not working, and I do not know why.
Oh.
We will just have to reminisce.
There we go. I
yeah.
can put a screenshot up of some description, maybe.
Yeah.
Find a picture.
George, I've been thinking about that a lot myself. I would like to get something on the calendar to do an audio podcast.
Absolutely.
So we'll take that conversation offline.
Okay.
I stopped in today and said hi to the wine people for you, Jason. So
Did you? Okay. All right.
pretty good selection. I know I have no idea. I walk in, like, hey, I'm the new birds. Come say hi to you guys. First question: do you have any mead?
Is that true? Is that the first question they asked?
Right, no, first question I asked.
Okay.
So.
Speaking of that, I'm on the I'm on the aftermath of my annual trip to Wisconsin to pick up grapes.
Okay.
We picked 318 pounds of grapes, all of them red grapes, because the white grapes went really fast.
Oh, wow.
Note to self, I will handle differently next year. But nevertheless, we've got a healthy volume of Foch, Frontenac, and what's the common Concord grapes.
Concord, okay.
So the lightest wine that we're going to have this year is going to be a rosé, which my winemaking partner Rich is very excited about, and then we'll have just various Foch and Frontenac, some pure, some of them blend combinations, and it's going to be a lot of it. So
isn't a rosé still a blend of white and red though?
Yes, but the Concord itself, because it's a lighter grape, if you ferment it in the if you press out the Concord and leave just the juice, then you're left with just kind of a mix of red and light grapes.
Okay, so you end up with what is effectively a rosé.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So that's the one and only wine for this year that we're fermenting without the skins.
Okay.
So,
Jason, do you have yeast already?
Yes.
All right, good.
Yeah, we bought the yeast from the vineyard.
All right, good.
Jason, you could have gone to the world famous
Brew and Grow.
Brew and Grow in Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Well, I was going to give him a piece of advice.
I don't have. Where's the backgrounds? They're gone, George. What's going on?
Banners are gone.
Wait. Oops! Wait, no.
There you go.
World famous Brew and Grown.
I know that's where I get a lot of my ingredients, so we're good.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
I feel like a sellout. I bought yeast from somewhere other than the world famous Brew and Grow in Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Although I must say that the last time I needed yeast, the world famous Brew and Grow in Bolingbrook, Illinois, did not have the Philly Sour on stock.
Oh no!
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Like right now, like I was going to say, if you're going to need yeast from the world famous Brew and Grow, you'd call because we're out of like 3 or 4 different kinds.
Oh no! Okay,
including Nottingham.
Nottingham. Yeah, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of stuff that, a lot of times it's not our fault. It's our suppliers. It's our vendors' fault. If they don't send it, we don't get it. We don't. It's like we get directly shipped from the vendors now. It's not like it was back in the day, in the heyday of their time, where they had one warehouse that they shipped everything to us. Now we're dealing, and hell, we're only getting orders like every 3 weeks now.
Oh, geez.
But when we get an order, it's like 3 skids.
So, Luis, let me ask you. You brought up something interesting earlier that I didn't get to ask about. You mentioned very early that the the hoppy beers are not up your, is not where you naturally gravitate to.
Right.
But you have a sour in the works?
I do. Well, I moved in with friends of mine, and one of my friends really likes sours, so we've started brewing sours.
How do you feel about sours? And I mainly ask because I feel like that's a similar wavelength with the taste buds for the bitter beers.
Sometimes it depends on the weather. Like in the middle of summer when it's really hot, a perfectly balanced sour is super refreshing. It's kind of like that lemonade. Light, not super alcoholic, little bit of fruit, just really pleasant and refreshing. It's a little bit of a learning curve, and I am steeply learning. I'm on my second sour. The first I did a kettle sour. I don't think we should have probably left it another 24 hours to get a little lower in pH, but it wasn't bad. A little interesting, little funky, little earthy.
Okay.
The second sour I did with the Philly sour, which is that new yeast strain that does both at the same time, makes alcohol and lactic acid. And there's an aftertaste to it that I'm not really very fond of. It tastes a little bit like the inner pith of grapefruit, that bitter note. It's not sour, it's got a bitter note to it, that pithy grapefruit flavor. I don't know how to describe it better than that. That inner pith of citrus that's just bitter, but not particularly pleasant. That's the aftertaste. So it's not as bright as I would like.
Okay. I can relate to a good extent what you're saying about like in really, really nasty hot weather and just, the dog days of summer.
Right.
It can be nice if it's, if it's well balanced. And that's what I think is particularly challenging, is it's so easy for that balance to just go completely off the rails.
Right. And I'm like I said, I'm on my second sour. So I have not dialed in sours yet anywhere close. I mean,
okay.
I'm putting this into the competition. I'm like,
Okay.
I made one.
Okay. All right.
It's a try.
Okay.
It's a try. We gave it the whole try.
Okay.
Next year my sours are probably going to be delicious, but I'll have hopefully figured it out by then.
Sure. I think one of the more awkward moments of this webcast, which we've been doing since the beginning of the quarantine, involved sour beers. And I'll lean towards Paulie to add some context to this, because one of the traditions here is we will share snow globes of product with each other, and because we have people in multiple states, Paulie, you know where I'm going here. So I know, yeah. So get ready to step in here. So we have a frequent collaborator whose name is Scott, and he lives in Buffalo, New York. And we're already multi-state because George here lives in Virginia. So we have Illinois, Virginia, and New York, and we trade snow globes between each other. So Scott is very fond of sour beers and has some go-to kettle sour recipes that he brews very frequently. So he boxed up some snow globes of a recent kettle sour and made its way to us with labels of commercial beers, and conveniently did not tell us that when they were sent over. So we popped these beers open on the webcast, thinking fully that we're ready to drink some commercial beers, and I don't know what the label was, pale ale or whatever it was. And of course our reaction was, this beer's bitter as hell. What's going on here?
Well, no, I remember your first reaction, like, I don't know here, because like I remember I got my box, I'm like, oh, look, we got this, and oh, that's a bonus. I haven't had this in a long time. And then and the same thing that happened to you, and you tried that first one, and you're like, I don't know, I don't want to rip this apart, but whoa, and then I did the same thing, and then he happened to tell us, he's like, Oh yeah, I didn't take the labels off. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, that all makes sense now. I've been
Yeah, exactly. So that snuck up on us that it was a homebrew, and it was a homebrew sour that he made. So
It was supposed to be sour on purpose.
yeah, exactly.
We actually have a Berliner in the tank right now.
Oh, good.
Oh, right on.
Actually, Berliner kettle sour too. On top of it, I just checked the gravity today. Now, one bonus about having this is like I get to taste the progression of beer all the way through it, and that was the one thing I love doing at Flossmoor. You know, when you're taking your every couple of days gravity readings, at least taste. You see it go from sweet to, a real ale, pretty much.
Right.
Well, and see how the flavors are developing as the sugars drop out.
Yeah, I was actually just given I was at my local brewery today, and he gave me a quick sample of his beer, and he's like, "What is this?" He asked me to identify it, and it was a little bit odd that I couldn't. I was like, it feels like it kind of has the malty character of a brown, but some of the visual and character and like taste character of a like an English ale. And he's like, "Oh, that's a Dunkelbach." And I was like, "All right, well, that makes sense because it was really young. He's just cold crashing it now." So then all of a sudden, all the malty flavors and everything came into focus, and it just needed some time to develop. So, yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah. That wee heavy. I'm telling you, Jason, you gotta get down here and try that wee heavy. I know you like those. So
I do. I do.
those
What do you say your brew schedule was this weekend, Sunday?
they're gonna be there. They're gonna be brewing Saturday, but I'll be at Brew and Grow. But I will be there Sunday brewing, and we open.
You'll be there Sunday. Oh, all right. Well, you might see me.
Maybe I might swing by when I'm back. I'm about to so I'm working from home, and I've been teaching from home since March, and I'm tired of walls, and so I'm traveling. So I'm going to Colorado to teach from Colorado for a week.
Okay.
I was going to say, yeah, that's a common thing we talk about here too, Luis. How since COVID has hit, what has life been like? That's one example. So your work life has taken you home. What other things has that brought on?
Let's see. Sold my house, moved in with friends. Divorced my husband.
Oh my gosh!
We've been separated for 2 years, but I finally got the paperwork done.
Okay.
So, but no, it focused my attention on what was important and what I needed to do to be happy.
Okay.
Right.
And that changed, and it also has it's going to change the way I teach going forward.
Okay.
Because I see no reason to stand in front of students and lecture when I can record that and give it in advance, and then when we meet in person, we can do problem solving, and we can do examples and case studies, and actually explore the information. I'd say it's confirmed my love of travel and getting the hell out. And I usually spend 3 months a year traveling and going on vacation, and that's not happened this year, and it's
driving you insane.
It's driving me insane. So I'm going to Colorado for a week. So there'll be lots of pictures from Colorado of me sitting on a balcony.
Oh, please do. Yes.
Teaching virtual classes while sitting on a balcony in Colorado.
Yes.
Right.
And there might be some brewery trips in there too, possibly, probably, likely.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we started...
And I'm driving, so I can bring all the beer home.
Nice. Yeah, we started this whole thing to help people cope with the pandemic. So, glad you're finding that a way to do that. I find it awkward to say congratulations on the divorce, but I know that there's a lot of relief that comes with that finally being final. So, you know.
Well, and we've partied as friends, so but it was just finally getting the paperwork done.
Yeah.
And it was a lot easier than I expected. Okay. It took the actual court appearance took maybe 10 minutes on Zoom.
Oh.
It was.
They're doing divorce cases on Zoom?
They are doing divorce cases.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So it essentially boils down to, hey, is this you? Do you promise to tell the truth? What property do you have? What money do you have? What retirements do you have? What have you agreed to? What do blah, 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 blah. We have no children. So it's like, boom, 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 boom. Okay, we're good.
Huh.
It took 10 minutes.
Well, all right.
Wow. Okay.
And about 8 hours in advance filling out paperwork.
Sure.
But the actual court date was just the judge asked questions, I answered them, my ex answered questions, and she signed off on everything, and we were done.
So major life changes since the beginning of everything. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Like sold my house or selling my house. It's under offer. Moved houses. Moved locations.
Yeah.
Well, dang.
I'm actually, it's been very interesting. Especially as a microbiologist, like looking at the pandemic, because I'm on like my fourth version of the lecture about coronavirus at this point. And I've been talking about spillover events and pandemic events and this type of thing throughout the entire time I've been teaching, because it's been a part of what we as microbiologists understand are inevitable events.
So when you say fourth different lecture, do you mean just that's just been the evolution of the events is just how different this is taken?
Well, and also what we knew in February was not the same information we knew in May, was not the same information we knew in July, is not the same information we know now. And it's not to say that we were wrong before. It's just that when something is this new, it takes time. And what we understand evolves over time.
But just to confirm,
there's such a need to digest facts so quickly that people end up coming to conclusions that may or may not become problematic in the long term.
Well, and I think that's the difference between how I interpret and get information versus how most people get information, because most people get information through news sources, whereas I tend to get information from Lancet journals, New England Journal of Medicine, British Journal of Medicine. I tend to go Nature, Science. I tend to go directly to the news article, the science articles.
Okay.
And scientists tend to couch things in, to our best understanding at this point, this is what we think. Whereas news articles have a tendency to couch things in terms of, oh my God, you can get coronavirus twice.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, that's not how the journal article would put it. The journal article would put it is, given what we know about other coronavirus infections, our immunity to other coronavirus infections shows that it wanes over time. And after 4 years, only 20% of people who had SARS, which was the first pandemic coronavirus, are still immune. Right? So there's a difference in the nuances there.
But just to confirm, coronavirus isn't some deep state political hoax, right? Okay, just making sure. Yeah. I didn't think so, but we have a microbiologist right here. So
everybody's always like, oh my God, how can we come up with a vaccine this quick? And I'd be like, so the vaccines we have are ones that we repurposed because we were already working on vaccines against the other pandemic coronaviruses.
So you just have to alter it to fit this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because and I keep saying to people, like, we're so lucky because SARS had a mortality, I think, of 40%. MERS, which is another pandemic coronavirus, had a mortality of 60%. So we're super lucky. It's 1% or less. So yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but that's just
I know we're touching on some dangerous areas, and that's okay. But Luis, would you be comfortable sharing with the listeners here? Is there a particularly good source for information that covers the real up-to-date things about the coronavirus?
WHO, CDC, John Hopkins. If you don't understand journal articles, there are web sources where you can read to understand how to read journal articles.
Okay.
But there is a lot of science speak in journal articles. There's a lot of language that scientists use to hide we don't know this. Like, results are strongly indicative, which is science speak.
So watch out for that. Results are strongly indicative.
Yeah, because it means that they're not statistically proven.
Right.
But
means it kind of looks like it might be, but
that's exactly what that means.
Yeah.
So we tend to, they use stats a lot, and statistics, people tend not to understand statistics. Statistically different generally means a 1 in 20 chance.
Okay.
That's
5%.
not that high. That's really 5%.
5%. Yeah.
5%. There's a 5% chance that this result could have happened by chance.
Yeah.
It's not big.
Yeah, it's interesting. You have to learn a whole new vocabulary if you're looking at the journal articles.
Right. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't read like a traditional news article at all.
Well, but then the traditional news articles tend to overblow the results of journal.
Exactly. Yeah. They can take facts from articles like that and just craft those to the way they want to gear the article.
And the good newspaper sources at the bottom will always have a link to the original journal article, so you can at least see the source material. Lower quality news sources tend not to have those links.
But I think you'll agree that scientists don't speak English. Like
it is absolutely
technically not. English, but not really.
Yes. But we went to college for this, so we understand it.
Right, yeah. So,
like Polly's cleaning kegs.
Polly, what are you doing? Are you cleaning kegs on stream?
Is this what?
No, I'm over here. Uncle Rick had a keg that was clean, and the shit was apart or loose. And I remember a while ago, he was bitching that he lost a full bottle of CO2, and when I hooked it up, I could tighten it up by hand. So
that was never clean. Right?
So here we go.
I had that this weekend. I needed a keg beers and had no clean kegs.
Oh no!
10 dirty ones.
10 dirty ones. Wow! All right, get the PBW going, right?
Well, it was PBW, rinse water, line cleaner, rinse water, sanitizer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sat for a while, so I put the line cleaner through.
Okay. So if we are smash cutting back to homebrew talk, which is what we're supposed to do.
Yes.
Do you mind if I geek out on this guy real quick?
Of course, yes.
All right.
Okay, can you set this up though for the people that don't know about this? And Luis probably is.
I am one of them. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So I ordered the 3rd generation of the Play-Doh airlock.
This is what we were talking about last week.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is a digital airlock, and this will just be like a little bit of an unboxing thing. A digital airlock that can measure in real time the temperature, the gravity, and other aspects of the fermentation cycle, and produce a report wirelessly to my phone of what's going on during the fermentation cycle. So it actually is really neat. They set it up so you can see the different holes in the top here of the airlock, and so this is just a twist and pull, like a pin lock, to take this off, and you have the airlock, traditional bubbler valve here, and you can see on one side it has a little notch kind of there to allow the air to come out. So it works basically like a traditional airlock, and as it bubbles through this piece here before it hits the sanitized water or anything, it takes readings of everything that goes through there to tell you what the current gravity is and the temperature and all that stuff and reports that back on your phone.
I have to assume that it figures out the gravity by calculating how much CO2 has gone through, and therefore how much ethanol has been generated.
Right. That's my assumption as well.
Do you program in what you're starting with, or does it just happen?
So I haven't tried it yet. I haven't used it yet. So I'm not sure if you need to take an original gravity reading and tell it what that is so it can calibrate itself, or if it just does that itself. That I'm not sure of. In the first bundle that I got, because I got it as a launch thing for the 3rd generation, I also got this guy, which actually fits on the bottom of the airlock like that. And it has a valve on the side. You guys can see that there. It has a little valve on the side. And basically what this does is, have you ever gone into your fermenter and after a day or two and your water level in your airlock is down or gone? Like it kind of sucked everything back in? Like when you're cold crashing, exactly. So this little device sits in between your fermenter and your airlock and prevents what's called suck back. Yeah, and it prevents that suck back. And there's a little valve in there. It just allows that air to equalize and prevents that suck back from happening. The other thing they give you along with it is a bunch of these activated carbon filters to put in that help with they say the smell coming out, but also prevents contamination and things. So I got both of those, and I'm going to, with my next brew, which is going to be that Belgian stout, I'm going to see how it works out. I will say that they were smart about this. This is the USB line that they give you, and it is long.
It's long
to give you a lot of flexibility in where you would put where you put this in regards to where you're
because a 2-foot USB charging cable is not going to help if you've got a Keyser.
Exactly. So they give you a nice long one to make sure that you can put it wherever you need to put it. So, yeah.
So, George, let me ask you about that thing, because there's certain, like, I'm just speaking from my personal experience. You got certain yeast that are really active, and you want to use a blow-off tube, right? Is there a way you could use that as a blow-off tube, like you would do a traditional 3-piece airlock? Like when you pull the top one out, you could just put the hose right on top of that.
So, I mean, theoretically, you probably could, because when you pull out the internal thing, it's more or less a traditional airlock. Yeah. And all the readings, from my understanding, happen in this black part before it actually reaches the airlock. So theoretically, you could, if you needed to, because Jason and I have definitely done that in the past, where we've needed to convert an airlock into a blow-off tube. So I think you could.
That might be a cool. Because I remember. I'm sure I told this story, but I remember a few years ago, I used a yeast that I forgot how volatile it was, and you always had to use a tube. I'm just sitting here sleeping, and where my fermentation room is in my bed, and I can while I was fermenting, I could hear it. And all of a sudden, I'm sleeping. I'm hearing the thing going crazy, and then I hear a pop.
Right.
I'm like, I'm sleeping. I wake up the next morning. I got yeast all over my wall, on my fucking carpet, the airlock laying over on its side.
So, hey, Jason, are you still there?
No, he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay. When he gets back, I'm going to share my screen here because I need him. But I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you the what the kind of the readout looks like.
I would say that there's no brewer alive that has not had the yeast explosion experience.
Not an experienced one.
Right.
Jason, can you share my screen?
Yes, and my worst experiences with yeast explosions have been with wine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So do you see this? This is kind of the readout you get. You can see the fermentation activity. You can see the you have the volume there, the temperature, which I will probably do in freedom units instead of Celsius there. Alcohol.
Freedom units.
Oh my god.
But you can see you have the original gravity. Oh, a little kickback. All right. And we have, estimated specific gravity, but then it also does these charts here of the over time of the temperature, gravity, fermentation, and everything. So you can see what's going on.
So
very geeky.
Is this thing expensive, George?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it was a little bit of an investment. I bought the 3rd generation during a launch special, and I got the airlock and the adapter for $130.
Okay. Actually, let me see the bottom of that. Does that thing have a little cross hatches in it, like some of those cheap airlocks have?
What do you mean?
Look at where it goes into your bung. No, what you're holding on to.
This guy?
No, the tube that comes out of there. That's just that? So it's clear.
It's just that.
Okay.
It's just clear,
Right.
yeah.
That's what I was getting at, because if you look at some of these airlocks, I see them all the time at Brewerville, they're not a solid round circle. They put like a little X in there. Maybe.
No. This is solid. Like, as far as I can tell, I mean, the construction of it is pretty nice. And they made some significant upgrades from version 2 to version 3. So as far as like it being an airlock, I'm fairly happy with how it looks, because I don't know if you can tell, but in here there's 3 different ridges to keep it.
Yeah, we can see that.
To keep the airlock bobber straight and everything, so you get a consistent.
I'm going to be
bubbling.
annoying here and say, for the home brewer,
Mm-hmm.
it was. I mean, when I homebrew, I shove it in primary for 3 or 4 days, put it in secondary, and maybe a week or so later check the FG.
Right.
Do I really, really need an hour by hour feed out of how my fermentation is going when I could just kind of look at it and go, meh, it looks done. Let's check the specific gravity.
Well, so let me answer it this way. We have a saying here at A Nice Place to Brew. Brewing is as complicated as you want it to be. So the answer is an unequivocated, absolutely not. This is totally unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary.
That said, I wanted it.
Still pretty cool.
I mean, I'm not going to deny it's cool, but I also I'm with Alton Brown. It seems like an unnecessary complication.
I will say, however, the one piece that I think would be a good investment for homebrewers is this one, and you
for the suck back, which sounds way more like a porn site than any homebrewing tool.
Yeah.
How much does that cost?
So the pressure drop equalizing valve, like they like to call it, is $10. Okay. And it is definitely something that I think would, because I definitely have come down to check my beer and found my airlock be empty.
I have
before.
too.
And that's
we all have.
Yeah, so that's not a good
apparently
thing.
I ignore my beer way longer than I should because it's usually finished fermenting before it does that. So like,
I have
right.
a question for you, George.
Yeah.
That compared to a Wi-Fi Inkbird, that would give you much more information, correct? Because the Inkbird just gives you the temperature, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So the Inkbird just does temperature, and it is. And the Inkbird's really good for temperature control. So if you have like a heating or a cooling element to be able to heat or cool the beer, that's great for that. This is less about temperature control and more about statistical reporting and understanding what's going on in your beer.
So the obvious next question is, compared to a tilt?
So a tilt, the nice part about this is this sits on top and is your airlock, so you get that in real time. Tilts are great, and is another thing that if I have a bunch of money aside and nothing to do with it, I'm probably going to pick up one because they just make hydrometer action really easy. But a tilt, you have to use it like you would use a hydrometer. So you have to pull a sample and put it in and everything, where this sits on top and automatically takes readings.
Oh, I thought
Luis, you have some thoughts on this?
on what?
I heard
on the tilt.
So.
Yeah,
I've never encountered. I don't know what a tilt is.
Oh,
I don't either. I admit
it.
it. I don't.
Let me pull it up because it's a really nifty hydrometer.
Okay.
I buy cheap
hydrometer.
hydrometers because I drop them a lot.
We've all broken a hydrometer.
You know, it was funny because today I was in the brew house by myself going through a little cabinet drawer. There was a drawer that had like 3 brand new hydrometers in there. I'm like, all right, we're good here.
I got hydrometer 1, 2, and 3.
See how long it goes before I break one of them things.
A month.
Yeah,
No,
let me.
2 weeks.
No sound.
So, Louise, how long are you going to be in Colorado?
Just a week. It's a 2-day drive out.
Yeah.
7 days there, 2-day drive back.
All right. I was going to say the best thing I could say if you want to swing by, because I really don't know my hours right now. I haven't set them because they're all up to me when I want to be in there. Best thing is if you're thinking about coming out, just message me, and I'll let you know. You know, like if I'm there,
Yeah.
I'm there. If I'm there and you're going to be there around 4 or 5 o'clock, I'll stick around for a minute. You know.
Yeah. Well, halfway to Colorado is Lincoln, Nebraska. So that's our first stop. And then
But there's nothing there.
Well, yeah, there's nothing in Nebraska, which is
Come on, you got the University of Nebraska.
It's halfway. It's a 14-hour drive. Lincoln, Nebraska is halfway.
Right,
It has hotels, and it has an airport, and it has presumably some restaurants.
There's actually a few breweries out there.
Well, then they're perfect. I need to find. All I need to do is find a brewery. I mean, seriously.
All right.
And then the other stops are Golden, Colorado, Glenwood Springs, because they have hot springs. And I'm going to try not drown myself in mineral hot springs. And then Colorado Springs. That's our trip. Garden of the Gods, Pikes Peak, mountains, Majesty, low oxygen levels because we're at altitude, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But I can if I'm online teaching, I can do it anywhere.
Anywhere you want, yeah.
Why would I have to do it in Illinois?
I don't blame you.
Well said.
So,
I mean, ideally, what I want to do. Okay, you got
go ahead.
the tilt. Go do the tilt.
Okay. So here's an example of the tilt. So the tilt hydrometer is another app-driven thing. And Jason, if you want to share that.
Got it.
Oh, geez. Okay. So you see this guy has a glass of water and he has the tilt floating in it. This is how the tilt works, that you drop it in liquid. And yeah, apparently you can drop it directly in the fermenter as well. So this may very well be analogous. You can drop it in the fermenter as well and get real-time readings of what's happening with.
So wait a minute. This actually, this interests me because you don't have to put your reading glasses on to try and figure out what the hell the reading is.
No, because you get like readings like this.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, they have a whole tilt Pi. They have their own Raspberry Pi load that can work with their tilt device to be able to read out and do things like this. Especially if you have multiple ones going.
Wow.
Plus, they come in a variety of candy colors.
Okay, I'm less impressed about that than I am about the whole point. Like it just feeds the SG to my phone.
Yeah.
Smartphone. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's an example.
That's really cool.
The specific gravity and
the
temperatures. So to enter,
does it break when you drop it on the concrete like a regular hydrometry?
Probably, but it's a lot more expensive. So there's that, So this actually may be analogous to the Play-Doh. And if one of you guys wants to invest in the tilt, I'd love to do a side-by-side and try to see what results we get.
What's the price tag on that?
I was going to say, how much that will cost?
Yeah. It's got to be less than the airlock.
Nope, it's more.
What? Jeez.
Oh, that's what you bought the airlock. Is that weird?
No, that's not why I bought the airlock. But
crap!
I can't
apparently
see the price on my screen. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's $140.
Ooh.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and you don't get the nifty little suck back thing either. So
right.
All right. I'm noticeably less impressed now after seeing that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to continue to buy the glass hydrometers and drop them on concrete. It's cheaper.
It is.
Oh my God! By
You're
far.
absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, but Louise, to your point, it's totally unnecessary, and nobody should feel the need that they have to have something like that.
But I've forgotten to use the hydrometer before, and I've worked on the principle of look, it stopped bubbling.
Oh, I've done that too. Yeah, it'd be like somebody asked me how much alcohol in this is. Like, I think 6 or 7%. I'm not sure.
About.
Yeah.
It's about.
Yeah.
We all have.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, y'all. Can we round it up?
Yeah.
All right. Luis, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
We got some follow-up. So, yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch and cover those.
Yeah, we'll have to set up, because it's going to require some setup and some camera setup and some videos and stuff. So
I'm pretty sure we can. I'm pretty sure we can get that done. So yeah.
And I would like to cover wild yeast capture in that sim.
Ooh.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes,
I like that.
Because we didn't do wild yeast capture. How to catch your own wild yeast.
Oh man, that'd be a great thing to get. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll look forward to it.
That'd be part of yeast wrangling, I think. So.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Well, more to come.
Oh, really quick before we say goodbye.
What's up, Polly?
Louise, Uncle Rick just said, if you want a camera, he just got like 3 cameras for $1 a piece down in Indianapolis, and I was looking at him the other day. He said you could have one.
Oh, we've got cameras in the house, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
We have enough people working from home and tech people, so we got that covered. I just didn't expect my laptop camera to die halfway through a podcast.
Yeah, well, you look at my track record, and George's track record is nothing new, so...
Yeah, George, you have maintained this whole time. It's amazing. An hour and 35 minutes in.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, before we jinx that, let's round it up. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you can't wait until Thursday to get more of us, check out our YouTube page and look at our past episodes. Check out our audio podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew. And we're talking about putting new episodes together, so keep a close eye on that. It's available on Stitcher, Spotify, and all the podcasting platforms. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com. We're on social media under A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. And we will be back here on Thursday, October 8th for another new episode. All right. Louise,
night.
thank you again for joining us.
No
We
problem.
end every show and we raise a glass and we say it takes a lot of good beer to make great beer. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.